Did you know it's time to watch the celebration of 100 analysis videos? Thank you for all your support with this channel. It truly means a lot to me, and I appreciate each and every one of you. And the best way for me to share with you how much I am grateful to you is by giving you 100 clips to celebrate the 100 videos. So let's walk back through memory lane and look at least one video from each of these episodes, and I'll walk you through some of my thoughts of what was going on either in my life or when I was analyzing the video. From the first episode, there is something there that looks like a shadow figure. The first few videos only had 3 or 4 clips in them, and I worked on them for 6 weeks. From the second episode, I don't know if the flashlight is a signal. They lower it, and as they raise it back up, a figure shows up, but then they immediately lower the light and remove the camera. I released the first 4 videos on October 15, 2022. From the third episode, you can see some type of ghostly figure crawl out of frame. Finding good clips that will be good for video is always the hardest thing. From episode 4, there's a teddy bear in the corner sitting on a box. It slowly rises up, and then it starts smoking while it's hovering before it drops back down. This is the clip that completely changed my channel. I thought when I got into this, 50% might be real, 50% might be fake. But this guy has tethered this teddy bear to a stick or a pole that we can't see, or he color matched out, and stuck a rocket under it to get it to levitate. This totally pissed me off. This channel started on the anniversary of my dad's death. I'm looking for real clips and real answers, and knowing that people will go to this extreme to fake paranormal activity, it just pissed me off. And it changed this channel to a debunking channel. It's also why I don't show any mercy to any of these clips that are fake. This guy uploaded it to his channel, and then other YouTubers will upload it to their channel, and they're all saying, oh my gosh, this is so real, and this guy is thinking about moving because he's scared. And that's how people are brainwashed into believing stupid. If enough people say it's true, then it must be true. No, that's not right. Question everything, regardless of who says it's true. And that's how you became a member of the Question Everything community. That smoke is a rocket stuck to that teddy bear's arse. And that's the truth. From episode 5, as the camera is moved through the pipes, we can see a creature. This was passed off as a cryptid or a mysterious creature on the video that I received it from. I don't know why people can't recognize a frog when they're looking at one in water. So I felt the need to include the anatomy of a frog arm so people would know at least what a frog arm looks like. From episode 6, these tunnels are located in an area that believes in the Mothman. So this was passed off as the Mothman. I know that there's something there because it kicked up the water. I did get feedback from you guys that you do think this one is real. I know it's really there, I just don't know what it is. So I can't say it's definitely the Mothman, but it's definitely something weird and creepy and something that, I don't know, it's just weird. And this is where it kicked up the water. From episode 7, we see a fruit basket moving towards a door. This is another one of those videos that changed the course of my channel, because this is another guy that likes to fake videos. I knew he was using a string to move this object, and I felt like I had to prove it and actually demonstrate how string is used to move these objects. I then got a comment from a subscriber, C. Richardson, that asked if I would ever do this type of demonstration. And that started how they fake the paranormal video series. And that first video was using a remote on a string. From episode 8, in the lower left-hand corner, you'll start to see a shadowy mist creep across the bottom of the screen. Because this clip comes from the exact same channel as the previous clip, this guy has zero credibility with me. Furthermore, he added an editing effect to the footage, so he's altered the entire footage with that blue tint. And what I mean by a video effect is this that you're watching right now. See how it covers the entire video? It would be like me saying, "Oh look, ghost orbs." From episode 9. The attic door pops open and then a box falls out. And shortly after that, the ladder comes down. I received feedback in the comments about this one being real. It may be real, but I just felt like the boxes were stacked in such an odd way that gravity might have been the cause of this one. I don't know exactly where that box was initially positioned, but it was apparently too close to that door. So that's why I don't think this one is real. From episode 10. As the camera focuses, we see a dark head peeking out of the room. This clip was the first time that I tried to bring in pop culture references and comedy. Because I felt like this video was staged, I decided to bring in one of the characters from the video game Among Us and just show the comparative between the character in the game and the character in that window. I even included the game's soundbite. From episode 11. As they look through the staircase, they see a creepy hooded figure. The next two clips were also a learning lesson for me. I didn't realize that there were people going out into some of these abandoned areas or spooky areas and just creating paranormal activity videos. I just always, for whatever reason, was thinking, well, if you're going out into these abandoned buildings, putting up with the stink and the cold and the elements, then you're definitely looking for real paranormal. These guys proved me wrong, and I learned. From episode 12. Episode 12 is how I was trying to show you how security cameras can be used to fake paranormal activity. So I was showing how this dude tried to break into my house when I was out of town, and the way bugs will walk on camera lenses will create these weird light effects that people are passing off as paranormal. But that's the bug right there, and as he walks off the lens, one of his legs ends up dangling in such an odd way that we get that weird light. From episode 13. As cameras run and people sleep, a weird dude comes out of the crack in the wall. Again, this was actually being passed off as paranormal and supernatural, and it's really just people creating a horror movie. From episode 14. The gurney on the right hand side starts moving on its own. This is one of those clips where I'm really on the fence. I could see how you could rig strings from multiple spots and run between those spots and just pull that string. But I know that this is a hospital, and I know hospitals are haunted, so it might be real. From episode 15. As we watch the man with his back to us, we see that he's alone. But when he approaches the cab, it appears there's a woman behind him. I think this video clip went viral, and so many different sources had this video. And the first time I watched it, it was very creepy to me. But as I studied it, I was like, it's an optical illusion. The guy is blocking her from our sight. But when it first came out, everybody was like, oh, it's paranormal, she's a ghost. And it's not a ghost, it's a living human being who's just smaller than the guy. Again, question everything. This was one of my favorite clips to debunk just because of how much hype was around this one. From episode 16. As we watch this scene, we see the glass that is closest to this man's hand suddenly shatter. This was another one of those really cool debunkings that I got to do because this guy had a glass punch and he just shattered the glass himself. And you can tell the way he angled his hand, that's not a natural way to rest a hand on a countertop. Just a sleight of hand magic trick. And a glass got shattered. From episode 17. As we watch this rain being captured by the security camera, all of a sudden, in a couple of frames, we see just a very large ghostly light appear in the middle of the screen. I live in Tennessee, and back in 2016, I had to travel to South Carolina for work. Well, it was my first time leaving my cats alone. So I was worried about them, so I bought some security cameras. And the clip that I showed from episode 12, it was that week that guy tried to break into my house. So I bought the cameras to keep an eye on my cats, not aware that I was going to catch someone trying to break in, but they decided not to break in because my camera scared them off. And of course, when I'm seeing this clip 1,000 miles away, I'm totally freaked out. But he didn't break in, so all is good. However, and now I have 10 cameras, and most of them are outside. Those outside cameras have taught me so much about how to debunk some of this footage. And this is simply rain being reflected by the light of the camera. It may be 2 raindrops together, or it may be closer to the camera, but either way, it's simply rain. It's not a ghost. From episode 18. As the camera is watching, it appears that this doll moved her eyes from facing towards her right to facing towards the camera operator. I was able to recreate that effect of her moving her eyes in the video How They Fake Paranormal Using Dolls. All I did was wiggle her feet a little bit to get her to shift her eyes. But this is the clip that inspired me to buy a doll and recreate that type of paranormal activity. And it's actually one of my favorite how they fake it, because anytime I can get my cats involved in the video, it's so much more fun for me. And in this case, my cat just attacked that doll. See the paw come under the door? Yep, that's Aileron. He attacked the doll. From episode 19. As the camera pans towards the left, a creature is seen in the silhouette of the doorway. People even get their knobby-kneed children to help them fake paranormal videos. Again, creepy, but it's totally a kid. From episode 20. As we look at this dummy inside this glass container, his eyes open, then the door opens, and then his eyes and mouth start to move. I received feedback from one of my subscribers that this dummy was made back during World War II in one of the prison camps. I did not know that about this dummy, but I also don't do any research on any of these clips that I analyze. I don't want the location or the story giving me any type of suggestive mindset that interferes with me just looking at it and determining if it's real or fake. I did mess up the analysis on this clip because I got so hung up by these lights that I was seeing off to the side of this clip that I started focusing on them. I don't know how long after this video was released, but it finally dawned on me that that was a video effect. So they applied this video effect over this entire footage. And I was so caught up in those lights that I just kept analyzing them. So yeah, so this video clip I'm not that proud of, just because I didn't recognize the video effect when I was seeing it. From episode 21. A young teenager climbs up on the counter and starts dancing. But in the doorway, we will see a figure pass by. I said in this video, when I'm looking for ghost footage, I'm looking for something like this. But afterwards I thought, well, maybe that's not paranormal. So now I don't know. I hope it is. And my favorite number? 22. As we look down this corridor, on the right, something peeks out of a doorway. I received feedback in the comments that people thought this one might be real. When it first steps out of the door, I didn't think so, but then when it moves forward and it's showing more transparency, maybe. Do you think this one is real or fake? This is another clip in that same video that people thought was real. I was thinking it was maybe being pulled by a string, and then the opacity was reduced to give that transparent feel to it. What do you think on this one? Let me know in the comments below. From episode 23. As the security camera points down the hallway, a black shadow crosses in front of the screen. I think this was the first bug video that I looked at, and I was so happy because I knew exactly what it was. I didn't have to think about it. I just, from my own security cameras, recognized a bug when I saw it. Bugs are also my phobia, which is why I recognize them so easily. As this train moves along the rails, we see in the window closest to us on the left what appears to be a face form. This one is also from episode 23. I had to go through speech therapy to say my R's, so I struggle with some words to this day that have an R in it. And I had to listen to a pronunciation of a clip multiple times in order to say periodalia. I still have to look it up to spell it. This is from episode 24. The wheelchair in the upper left-hand corner starts moving, seemingly by itself. I always want to visit places like this and just see, by rolling a ball, if gravity is playing a factor in this. I will say that if I was a ghost, I would love to mess around with wheelchairs. From episode 25. Episode 25 doesn't really exist. It was used to replace episode 17. Episode 17 I never released because I was trying to do some analysis with audio and I just didn't like it, so I decided not to release it, and instead I released episode 25 as episode 17. How many of you that watched compilation celebration 3 that there was no episode 25 in that compilation video? Moving on to episode 26. As these two people are talking, we see a figure walk in front of the doors. The person with the camera immediately moves over and goes to investigate. I saw in the comments that some of you thought this might be real. I didn't really feel like it was real because it seemed too staged to me. where the camera was pointing in a direction that initially someone could have hid and just circled around behind the camera operator. There are just some nights when hospitals are slow, and I feel like the staff has time to goof off and stage some of this stuff. Episode 27. We see a figure on the right-hand side moving towards the stairs. When I first saw this clip, I was so excited because I was like, yes, I can show paranormal activity. And then I put it in my editing software, zoomed in, and realized it was a spider web. From episode 28. And then a bowl on this counter flies off and breaks. I think this was another viral video because I think I saw it on TV, not on YouTube. I still can't figure out how this happened, so I still think it's paranormal. From episode 29. After this man passes by these bottles, they fall behind him, startling him. I don't drink alcohol, but I do know how expensive it is. I come across so many of these clips involving breaking bottles of alcohol. And I keep thinking, why are people using alcohol, such an expensive product, to play these type of pranks? Then it registered, well, a ghost wouldn't care. From episode 30. When he pans to the left, on the left side, we see someone walking. I saw in the comments where you all believe this might be real. For me, it was just odd camera operating that caused me to think that this might be staged. From episode 31. As the camera pans around the room, we will see a white figure in a doorway. When you go to a historical site or location, many of the employees are expected to wear period outfits. So why anybody jumps to the conclusion of, oh, that person in that period costume must be a ghost? Actually, it must be an employee, not a ghost. Enjoy your immersive experience. From episode 32. These 3 clips that I'm showing you right now, they all appear to have one thing in common: poor quality camera, and just the lighting is not good enough to pick up all the pixels of a human being. So it turns them into ghost. I actually recommend people experiment with their security cameras or their video cameras to figure out how far away they can pick up an image without turning it into a ghost. From episode 33. As the camera points into the bathroom, we will start to see a head peep out from around the corner. You know what's so insane about these videos? Like in this one, I could see how easy it would be to recreate it. But I totally want it to be real. And yet, if it was real and happening at my house, I would totally freak out. I'm okay with it being real at somebody else's house. I just don't want it in my house. Episode 34. A camouflaged figure crosses the road. A lot of hunters will dress in camouflage. And again, maybe this is a weak camera that doesn't have a good enough IR sensor to reach that far. Or somebody was killed on that road and that's their ghost. Please let me know in the comment section below, what do you think on this one? Is it real paranormal? From episode 35. As the camera pans away from the wall, a shadow appears. This is another clip that I remember seeing on TV many years ago. And when I found it, in order to do, some videos, I was like, oh yeah, I definitely want to analyze this one. From episode 36, with their head on the left-hand side and their feet on the right-hand side, and they're crawling and dragging themselves across the floor. This one is from the show Paranormal Lockdown, and they're at an insane asylum. And this is probably the most shocking paranormal videos I have ever seen, in which this ghost is basically just crawling across the floor. I'm pretty sure it's a residual haunt, but it is still very disturbing. It's also one of my favorite video clips. From episode 37, we will see this woman sitting in this break room, just relaxing, doing nothing really, when all of a sudden a chair moves near her and it causes her to jump up and get away from it. Fortunately for me, this video was already debunked, in which somebody found out that this is a clip or a scene from a Polynesian movie. I don't know the name of that movie. From episode 38, you will see a dark shadow person walking towards the camera. This clip is from the original Ghost Hunters on Sci-Fi back in the early 2000s. They are at the Eastern State Penitentiary. I believe that's where this is at. And if you go back and watch that show, you'll see how rarely they capture stuff and how bizarre some of the stuff is that they capture. And that's what I look for too. Not the pristine, not the perfect. From episode 39. First, we will see a chair move. Clips like this are hard to analyze, because obviously if you're trying to capture paranormal activity, you're going to put your camera in the attic. But then when you capture paranormal activity, somebody's always there to question it. And if only the chair had moved, I would not question it. I would say, yeah, that's probably is paranormal. Because I saw that on an episode of Ghost Hunters. But when all of these other objects are moving too, that's when my rule of thumb is, if there's too much activity, then it's fake. And I just think, how much energy does it take for a ghost to actually move things when they don't have a physical body? Can they only move maybe one object in a 24-hour period because it takes so much energy from them? Obviously, we don't know the answers yet to any of these questions, but I'm going to stick with my rule of thumb. If there's too much activity, it's probably fake. From episode 40. In the distance, we will see an odd, dark-shaped figure walking towards the camera operator. I was having lunch with a friend, and she asked me about doing videos about mythical creatures such as Bigfoot. So when I was researching that story, I was surprised at how many different names Bigfoot has, and how many cultures have a Bigfoot. From episode 41. The camera operator is exploring outside, and he points the camera around. He even finds some horses, but because of how dim the light is, the horses even look creepy. Then he points the camera in a direction that captures a very creepy creep. I did not believe in space aliens at all until Earthlings landed the rover on Mars. And I thought, oh my god, if we, as messed up as we are, can land a machine on Mars, then yep, there's definitely life out there. From episode 42. As these dogs are barking at something outside, we can see particles flying down towards them. For me, the scary part wasn't the orbs. The scary part is the dogs might get hurt on that bench that keeps rolling away from the window. Because that is just dangerous for the little pups. Look at that. From episode 43. While the camera is pointed at this doll, her eyes are pointed towards her right, our left. I'm not afraid of dolls, but I do find them to be a little bit creepy, especially the ones that are much more realistic. It just seems like there's a wrongness to make a toy to replicate a human being with realism. The other thing, when you think about it, if you had this doll sitting on a shelf in your bedroom and those eyes don't close and they're staring at you all night long, there's just a wrongness to that. I did have a couple of dolls when I was a smaller child, but I preferred stuffed animals, so I always had stuffed animals sitting on the shelf. Stuffed animals are good pillows. Dolls are hard plastic. And a weapon in the wrong child's hands. From episode 44. A riderless tricycle starts rolling directly towards the camera operator. This is one of those that I couldn't figure out, and fortunately I have wonderful subscribers that could help me see what I was missing. And what I couldn't figure out is how this camera operator was so calm when this tricycle started coming right at them. And the answer is, if they were a professional or skilled, or a lot of experience with this, then they would not be fazed by a tricycle coming at them. Valid point, so this one might be real. From episode 45. As this man is being interviewed, the blonde-haired woman on the left disappears. I'm always amazed when clips like this are being passed off as paranormal. And I'm really disappointed that people actually believe there's some type of time warp or vortex or alien abduction that caused that blonde-haired woman to disappear. But it also amazes me that YouTubers are willing to say, yes, this is paranormal, watch this. Because there's something called credibility, and if you're claiming this is paranormal, you have zero credibility in the business. From episode 46. As we're in this barbershop or hair salon, we will see that blue cape move upwards as if somebody had just sat down. I still like this clip for it to be real paranormal because it's going against gravity and everybody is busy working and nobody's really paying attention to it too much, and then all of a sudden it just starts moving up. So I'm inclined to believe that this one might actually be real paranormal, but again, they could be pulling a prank on us. Did you think this might be real paranormal too? From episode 47. This is another video that's being passed off as paranormal, in which this is being treated as a cryptid. I feel like sometimes that I should do something like this. Just run around and get caught by all my cameras and just pretend to be a cryptid. From episode 48. As this employee goes to step up on this crate, it moved and causes her to fall. I slowed this footage down and watched it so many times, trying to figure out if she kicked that crate herself. I think she did, but it is very hard to tell. Even for this video, I find myself trying to look at it frame by frame. I hope she was alright. Episode 48. This investigator is wandering through an abandoned hospital when he gets to the pharmacy. And just when he gets into the room, the bottles of medication fall over. This is just one of those clips where I could see how string or vibration could cause those bottles to fall over, but this one might be real. One of my theories about the paranormal is that sometimes you just can't explain it. And this is one of those clips that kind of reinforces that belief in me. Because when my dad died, the moment he died, my parents' wedding picture fell off the vanity. And this clip kind of reminds me of that situation. From episode 50. As this man walks down this hallway, suddenly he is confronted by what appears to be a shadow person. There are a string of videos out there right now that have this like shadow person suddenly attack someone in a hallway or in a stairwell. I wish I could trace back to the original source of these people so that I could figure out who's putting out these type of videos. From episode 51. As this young man vlogs, he passes by a door with a window in it, and we can see a face staring back at him. This is a rare video clip where the person that's provided the video doesn't really focus much on the paranormal. And because most of the clips that he's released over the past couple of years have nothing to do with the paranormal, it makes this video much more believable. And I know it could still be a hoax or set up, but I'm not convinced this one is set up. Now it could be pareidolia, simple optical illusion, but I don't know, it just seems real to me. What did you guys think on this one? From episode 52. As this man looks for a noise in the attic, the barrel falls. When I bought my house, the access to the attic was blocked by a shelf. Once I moved in, I got up there and looked around to see what was up there. Nothing was up there. Not even a ghost. But then, days later, I started to hear knocking. It sounded like it was on the roof. It took me 2 years to realize that when I open up my bedroom window and I open up the office window, the cross breeze causes my door to knock. So it was my bedroom door the entire time. 2 years it took me to figure it out. From episode 53. This car is facing the garage, and the person is inside their car, and it says that there's somebody at the front passenger side. But there appears to be nobody there. I've had a couple of clips like this, and I don't know enough about the technology to know if this can be faked or staged or what. Obviously, somebody could be standing there and then ducks down and hides from view, but it's still interesting to me. I suspect over the next few years we'll see more and more paranormal clips like this. And I'll keep my eyes open to see if I hear any glitches with this technology that can give these false positive readings. But for now, we'll remain in the dark. Episode 54. These gold Halloween decorations are hanging on this fence. One of the skulls keeps turning and facing a different direction, and it's bothering the owner, so she fixes it again. Obviously, this lady lives in a safe neighborhood, so she's not worried about her skulls being stolen. How many of you live in a safe neighborhood where you believe that you could leave decorations like this out and nobody would steal them, graffiti them, or just mess with them? From episode 55. This gate starts to open, seemingly by itself. The first thing I think of when I see anything move outside is it moved because of the wind. The second thing I think of when I see objects moving is gravity or vibrations. I just don't automatically think, oh yeah, that's a ghost that pushed that open. We're such a flawed species as human beings that sometimes I'm just thinking we need to, move on to human beings version 3.0. Because of how flawed our species is, I just immediately think, oh, that's a living person that didn't latch it correctly. Or it's a living person who didn't get around to fixing the broken latch. I agree it's creepy, and if I saw something like this on my security cameras, it would cause me to go, just for that split second before my logical brain kicked in. Again, we have a security camera that appears to have caught a chair moving in the middle of the room. Now, this one, because it's indoors, I can't say, oh, it's the weather. Gravity could be playing a factor, but I feel like gravity would play a factor on more chairs. Same with vibration. So this is from the exact same episode, and yeah, I think this one could actually be real. Obviously, we could still use a string and fake it, being human beings that we are, but I don't know, I just thought it was odd enough that, yeah, it's very possible that this one is real paranormal. So I like to reshare the ones that I think are real. Episode 56. As we look up the center of the spiral staircase, we see something is leaning out over the railing. This is from the original Ghost Hunters on the Sci-Fi Network, and they captured this at St. Augustine's Lighthouse. If you watch the first season of Ghost Hunters, the original, you would see that Jason would get into fights with the other people on the team because he refused to say anything was haunted. And throughout the series, I think he only called a couple of places haunted. Because of how careful he was and how he wouldn't rush just to get ratings by calling something, a ghost or haunted, that's what I respected about him. He never sold out. So I am much more trusting of the Ghost Hunter clips than I am of any other television show. And they did have several episodes where they found nothing. From episode 57. As the camera points at this dining room table, we see someone peeking through the window of the door. The second I sat down to analyze this clip, I immediately thought, well, I can totally recreate this. It would be so easy for me to do that because I have a similar door. So I think this is the only clip that I actually got up from my chair and started recording myself faking paranormal activity. So because I'm a fraud investigator in real life, I have to wear a mask. I can't do a face reveal at this point in time. When I retire, that's when I'll do a face reveal. But this is actually a clip of my house, and I've used editing software to make it incredibly dark, because it is a bright sunshiny day. So that's me sticking my face inside the door there so that everybody can see how easy it is to make that type of clip. And I had to do even more because it was not nighttime out. But because I never want you guys to think that I'm trying to put out fake videos, I always show you the original cut and I talk about the fact that I'm faking this. Don't take it and twist it. From episode 58. As we look into this glass case, we start to see the dark, tall statue rotating. And this is a time-lapse camera that is capturing the statue just completely turn around. I had decided to make a behind the scenes of how I make these videos and what I'm looking for and just kind of how my software works. so that you guys could kind of see what my process is. And so I used this clip for that video. I still think this one is real, just because of it's behind glass, nothing else is moving, so there's not a gravity issue or a vibration issue. So yeah, I do think this one is real. From episode 59. This is the first time that I've ever tried to debunk or demonstrate how easy it is to fake noises. There's just so many sound bites within editing software and even within YouTube's sound system or sound library that it really is very easy to recreate most of those types of sounds. But I really do like his videos and how creepy they are. So I hope you watch some. Many people refer to these 12 locations as vile vortices. I love maps, so my favorite thing about this was that I got to actually create this map where you could see all these different locations and see how they line up along the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. But this was also when I was trying to make longer videos and I was trying to, get into some of the other mysteries, not just the paranormal. I still want to explore the different mysteries on the planet, but I don't want to include them in a regular analytical video that I do every week. I want them to be one-off and special. I'm glad that I did this, but I'm just not going to do them within episodes. Because these take a lot longer because I have to do a lot more research to get my facts right. And I just feel like they deserve their own video. They shouldn't be combined in something else. And yes, I am going to do more of these type of videos, but I also want to do more of the paranormal within a country type of videos. I think my next video regarding countries, I don't know, I think it'll be Canada, but I have lists for China, for Japan, for Brazil, for different countries in Europe. So, but it's just going to take me years to get all of those done because, they're just more time consuming because of all the research. And especially when I start moving into different languages, I barely speak English correctly. And most words I don't speak correctly. So, trying to say all these other non-English names, it's going to be a challenge, but I'm looking forward to doing it anyway. Episode 60. This video was captured in Yosemite in California. We will suddenly see a white figure on the left-hand side move down this slope, and then a second figure shows up as well. The TV show Fact or Fake actually tried to debunk these. They focused on the Fresno Nightcrawler video. That show went out there and tried to replicate it, but they could not debunk it or figure out how this was done, so they were just scratching their heads. This is the Fresno clip that they tried to debunk. And it just has such a distinctive movement to it that it's really hard to figure out what it is, but they don't think it's CG either. So as bizarre as this is, I am actually more open-minded to this and the reality that this might actually exist, even if we don't fully understand what it is. From episode 61. As a car drives down this parking lot, all of a sudden, a shadowy figure walks in front of the car. There's some videos where, like this, we see so often that I go, ugh, I don't want to debunk this again. But then I remember most people haven't seen the previous videos, so I go ahead and grab it and I'll debunk them. I am self-taught with this editing software, and if I can do anything that even remotely, if I can do anything that moves like that object that fades in and fades out, then I know it's an editing trick, even if I have not blurred mine enough to exactly resemble the shape that they created. They're just better at editing this to make it look like that than I am. But just because they're better doesn't mean that's not fake. From episode 62. As the camera points down this hallway, we see on the right-hand side what appears to be a head pop out from a door or a window. I added this light effect just to give you an idea of the different type of video effects that exist in editing software. And as real as that look, it also reminds me of a smoke element. Here are some examples of smoke elements. I know none of these smoke elements are exactly like that image, but that's just why I say it kind of reminds me of a smoke element. But watch this close up and just see how it shoots out almost like a smoke element. Granted, this is slowed down and I didn't slow down my smoke elements, but still, it is intriguing to me. From episode 63. When this dog walks into this kitchen, they are acting very timid, very scared, as if something is right there. They're not willing to move further into the kitchen and keep backing up. Poor puppy dog. I hate when animals are scared or upset. But this is how old I am. My instinct is to comfort the dog, not get my cell phone and start recording. Okay, maybe that's not an age thing. Right now my property is surrounded by moms and their baby deer. And I looked out my kitchen window the other day and I saw this baby deer nursing on the mama. And by the time I got my cell phone and got back to the kitchen window, they were gone, or they moved out of sight of the kitchen window. But that's my instinct when it comes to recording things. I always want to record the cute things. From episode 64. In the lower left corner, we will start to see the sewing machine start operating on its own. I just noticed that I said the lower left corner. I meant the lower right corner. Here's something that you don't know about this channel. Anytime you see the bigger block type of arrows, that's not me. That's the previous person that put that in there. My arrows are narrow or curved. Like these two arrows, however, I will make them red. If you see a perfect circle, that's also not me. My circle is not perfect. And I changed this circle to red as well. The editing software that I've been using, it didn't have the perfect circle or the block arrow, so I couldn't use those elements. I haven't checked this new software version that I have. From episode 65. So we're in some type of a store, and the little stuffed animal species thing that's closest to us at the center bottom starts to lean slightly. Then the camera has interference and the screen goes multicolored. And then all of a sudden, in the center, of all of those stuffed species is some type of creepy doll. I got a complaint on this clip because I didn't research it to know that this has been going on for years. And apparently this, in their opinion, is real. And my channel is horrible because I didn't research this. If you've been watching my channel, I always talk about the ghost hunters. And I'm very biased in trusting them simply because I watched every episode. I purposely do not research these clips because I don't want my opinion or my analysis to be based on my research. I want to base it on the clip that I'm actually seeing. And the bias goes the opposite direction as well, in which there's 2 channels that fake every single video. I will never look at another video of theirs. I already showed how they faked it. So I don't want the backstory on any of these clips. So if you believe this is real, that's your prerogative. All I can do is call it like I see it. Share that thought with you. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. But at least I'm questioning everything. So bottom line is, with the analysis videos, I do not do research. The only research I do is when I'm doing specific locations, or if I'm talking about specific mysterious events, then I'll do research. But with these analysis videos, I'm trying to just tunnel vision and just look at the clip. From episode 66. In the center of our screen, we can see a cat looking into a doorway, when all of a sudden a lighter shaped object peers out around the door frame. Then it puts its hands around the door frame. The only time cats are calm when looking at something that is new or unusual is when it's the actual owner and they've seen them do this before. The rest of the time, when cats are exposed to something new and strange, they will run, they will hide, they will hiss, they will attack. They actually have an opinion on new and strange, and you know their opinion pretty much immediately. My property backs up against undeveloped land, and one day my cat just started wandering around the house growling, just prowling around the house and growling, and I could not figure out what was going on. Then I look out the window and I see a guy in my backyard. That's undeveloped land back there. What the heck is he doing so close to the back of my house? Turns out he was a surveyor and he was surveying that land. That is the only time I have seen my cat ever react like that. So in this situation, that cat is way too calm for that to be anything but the cat's owner. Actually, cats don't have owners. They own everything. So, yeah, the cat owns that thing and is not afraid of it. From episode 67. But suddenly, in this corner, we will see a dark blotch start to grow and pulse and breathe. It comes in out of that corner and then seeps back into that corner. I did receive feedback that people thought this one might be real. I do think something real is happening. Something physically is doing that. But I'm just not convinced it's paranormal. I don't know, it's like that white gold dress, the black blue dress. This room looks like it was recently flooded to me. And I just feel like maybe that's moisture in the wall that is slowly leaking out. And that's how it's leaking out. But I don't know. It just reminds me of a room that's been flooded. So, again, an ink blot test. And I am sorry that blob looks a little bit perverse. I think I've changed my blob since then. I was trying to create an odd shape, not a perverse shape, sorry. I didn't notice how wrong that looked until just now. From episode 68. As this doll is being held, suddenly it moves its head. This person's reaction is exactly the same as what my reaction would be. When people are startled, I'm always looking for those quick reflex type movements, the muscle movements that you can't really act. And I do have this same type of reaction if a bug or a spider gets on me. I think it was the second Indiana Jones movie that had the bugs. I had to look away. I couldn't watch that scene. That doesn't mean that I want to hang out in a pit full of snakes or in a tunnel full of rats. But yeah, the bugs, just give me the creepy crawlies. Let me know in the comments below, what are your phobias? My other one is being trapped in any type of space. I can be in small spaces, I just can't handle being trapped in any type of space. So I can't commit a crime because I can't go to jail because I would be trapped in jail and I couldn't handle it. I have to be able to get out. Episode 69. So we're looking into the sky over California, and all of a sudden we see this just blue streak of light from multiple angles. I was watching some show like 12, 15 years ago, and they were talking about these contrails. And there's some sort of a conspiracy around these contrails, like they're affecting our weather, they're causing tornadoes or hurricanes or something of that nature. And I really find some of these conspiracies funny simply because everything human beings are doing on the face of the earth is affecting our environment. Every major city has its own weather system because of the heat that each city produces. Everyone talks about carbon dioxide being one of the components that's causing global warming. And I always think when I hear that, we have 7 billion people that when we exhale carbon dioxide. So when I think about global warming, I always think, do we have to stop breathing to prevent it? But I never hear anybody talk about how much us exhaling actually impacts the environment and contributes to global warming. From episode 70. The pipe doesn't look like it's more than maybe a foot in diameter. Not really large enough for a human being to crawl in there. But then the camera zooms back and we see 2 yellowish green eyes looking back at us. It's clips like this that make me just question my own sanity, because I don't understand why people just jump to the conclusion that that's got to be a cryptid or paranormal. So I do suggest everybody that's into the paranormal, please watch some wildlife videos so that you understand this is a perfect home for wildlife and stray cats. Episode 71. When the camera is pointed down this hallway, we will suddenly see a shadow on this pole that disappears. I had to watch this clip so many times to be able to see what they were even pointing at, because it happened so quickly and so subtly that I would never have caught it. This just seemed like a natural shadow from the angle of the camera, and it took me the longest time to see it. I even changed the color of the footage to see it better. But yeah, I probably watched this 12, 15 times when I was trying to analyze it, going, okay, they see something, why can't I see it? And I'm still not sure what we saw. From episode 72. As this camera points into this bedroom, suddenly we will see a figure come into the mirror. I know the community believes that mirrors are portals, but I don't totally understand the concept of a portal. I feel like if you've been reduced to nothingness and it's just a spirit that can go through walls, then why is a portal necessary? Can't they go anywhere? Sometimes I feel like with the paranormal community, if something sounds good, we jump on that and we go, yeah, that's gotta be how it works. But does it have to work that way? If you hear some people talk about a portal, it's demonic in nature and it's a portal basically to hell. And others will say it's just a portal for the dead to pass in and out of this world or this dimension. So if the community can't agree on what a portal is, should we jump on the bandwagon of calling something a portal? I don't have an answer, but please leave a comment if you have one. From episode 73. So the stage is set to try and capture paranormal activity, and right off the bat we have a moving table. So again, we have a mirror set up as a portal with the runway of candles and then a table blocking the path. So if you can go through a solid object of a mirror, pass by candles without causing them to flicker, why would you run into a table? So this is what I mean by not understanding the concept of a mirror being a portal, because if you could do all that other stuff, you would not have moved that table at all. You would have just moved right through it. So it's kind of these philosophy contradictions that confuse me. So that's why I try to just stick to the belief that yes, dead people's spirit can haunt, and that's about as far as I go. I do believe they can move objects, but I'm just not sure about that whole portal thing. From episode 74. As these individuals are exploring this cave, they will suddenly come across a creature. What is this thing? This thing kind of reminds me of a salamander, but it is so huge that it's freaky. So I don't know if that's a CG monster or part of a movie, but it's creepy, that's for sure. Episode 75. When the camera points to the left, we will suddenly see the hands on the clock start to spin counterclockwise. I know I talked about this story in the How I Almost Died video. At least I can say with my experience, I do believe there was some type of mechanical malfunction, but it also happened on the anniversary of my dad's death. So this one, I don't know if somebody's just on the other side of the wall spinning that thing. I had to go back and watch this video clip to see why in the world I just stuck an arrow at that towel. I'm like, what is that pointing at? But it looks like there might be a hole behind that towel. I thought I had pointed the arrow at the wrong spot, which is something that I'm afraid that I'll do one of these days if I haven't already done it. From episode 76, we see a lady dressed all in white standing on the side of the road. It appears that she has long dark hair. Her back is to us, which is why we can't see her face, and as the car goes by, it looks like she was facing downwards. Now, she's flying. Jim Riley, who produces the music for this channel, he and I were talking one day about ghosts, and he had been talking to a friend about why are all the ghosts in military uniforms? And I said, why are all the women always in a white dress? Like, hasn't that cliche been exhausted? Like, I totally understand ghosts in military uniforms, but wow, how much longer are we going to keep talking about the women in the white dress? First of all, it's only been the last 30 years that women were allowed to wear white after Labor Day. Or rather, they rebelled against that faux pas like I do. But if we have this many women dying on their wedding day or their wedding night, maybe we should stop wearing white for our wedding dresses. But all the ghost stories about a lady on the side of the road dressed in all white. Could we come up with some original thought? Knowing my luck, the first full apparition ghost I see is probably going to be a lady in white, just because I'm criticizing it. From episode 77. As we travel through this abandoned building, we travel through this fairly large room and head to a doorway on the left side of the room. The camera stays pointed at the door jamb, right up until something is seen, and then they backpedal out of the room. There was a YouTube video several years ago that was talking about how to make horror movies. And one of the things they advised is to focus on something up close until you get to that spot where you need to pan out and capture the creepy thing. And so ever since I saw that video, I've been looking at these type of videos and going, oh my god, you just followed that rule of focusing on the specific up-close item, and then when you expand it, that's when we see the creepy thing. There's your suspense movie. From episode 78. Once again, we have the one guy on the ground sleeping, the other guy up on the roof stalking. I always hesitate to bring clips like this into my videos because we know it's all staged. We know it's an act. But then I think, well, maybe people don't realize this is staged and they don't realize that this is an act. So maybe I need to point out how they do this type of stuff. But it's always one of those battles that I have. If something is this obviously corny and unreal and made up, do I really want to include it in my videos? And I don't know that I ever know the right answer. So I include it just in case you guys haven't seen it, and then you guys will know that, yeah, it's probably fake. But these are the clips that I always battle with internally just because they're just so obviously fake. And yet, maybe it's not obvious to others. So I include them in my analysis. From episode 79. As this car comes rolling towards this gate, its lights are flashing and it doesn't look like there's anybody in the front seats, even though the steering wheel keeps turning. I really liked this one. They put a lot of work into rigging that car so that it could be remote controlled. I don't know if this is a movie production company or what, but they put some time into making this scene, so I gotta hand it to them. It's really good and it's unique. You don't often see this type of a well-planned clip. It's definitely creepy. Episode 80. The camera operator was focused on their own child when the child pointed out this person that was running around over here. This is another one of those where I debate whether or not I should analyze this, because again, I feel like it's staged. Maybe it's from a movie, it's hard to say. But they're making sure to check every single corner to show us, no, there's nothing hiding. And yet, again, people can very easily hide out of the frame of the camera. I always feel like, if so much as one person is believing this stuff is real, when it is so obviously not, then maybe I'm helping that one person, even if I might be boring everybody else. From episode 81. This house appeared abandoned, But then we will see a ghostly figure walk by the door. My rule of thumb for abandoned buildings is don't believe that they are abandoned. I was watching this one guy do a react video, and it was an abandoned building that this person was walking through, and the guy that was doing the reacting, he goes, "Oh, that's totally a crack house. Yeah, you need to get out of there. That's a crack house." And then the camera shows the needles on the floor. He totally called that. I know in many areas throughout the United States we have a homelessness problem, and they will just squat in these houses. Any building that appears abandoned, assume that it's not. And living people will always be more dangerous than dead people. And wildlife can be just as dangerous. Shelter is shelter. And mammals with any number of legs always looks for shelter. From episode 82. The camera will slowly zoom in and focus on what appears to be a small child. Then they change location, and once again they zoom in and focus on a small child. So, of course, I truly do believe this is a statue. Most children cannot stand still for that long and stay in that same pose for that long. But if I thought for 1 second this was actually real, I would have already contacted the authorities and asked them to check into this. Because the parents would be looking at child abandonment and child neglect charges. The camera operator would be looking at reckless endangerment of a child as well as child exploitation. And if the camera operator is the parent, they're looking at all of those charges. I will say, if you see something like this and it's a real child, please contact the authorities and ask them to look into it. Please help protect children from predators. From episode 83, we see a disc-shaped object sitting in this field, and then like a flash, it's gone. I like this video even though it's CG because it's really well done CG. I just like the detail on that spaceship. They could have added a few more details to it, but it's good. I like it. And I'm not into spaceships and all of that type of stuff or in space, but I don't know. I mean, if you're going to make a UFO video, go all out and do it right. And they did a really good job on this. I even like the flash of light right there too. So well done. Love it. Episode 84. At the back of this hallway on the right side, we suddenly see someone peek out towards the camera. This reminds me of someone who just got out of the shower or just got out of bed and they're thinking about streaking to the kitchen and getting something, but then they remember the camera and they check to probably see if the camera was on. That's what this scene looks like to me. Nothing paranormal about it, much more normal human of, I don't want to be caught butt naked on camera. Me either, dude. From episode 85. Behind this lady suddenly a smoke or a mist will appear. What the heck is that? You know, now that I'm looking at it after looking at those smoke elements from earlier, it kind of looks like one of the smoke elements. Look at that. I know it's not the same, but I wonder if that's what they did, is just add a smoke element. Well, I was thinking this might be real, but now I'm wondering if it's just an editing effect. I hope it's not an editing effect. That would disappoint me. But the more I look at it, the more I'm thinking it might be. Dang. From episode 86. These vertical blinds are gonna move. I just found this one to be interesting just because of how violently these blinds end up moving. I still think I could figure out a way to fake this, but I'm hoping this one is real, so I'm going to stick with that. Episode 87. As they're looking around in the backyard, the light will suddenly fall on what looks like a shadow person hiding there. Just a couple of months ago, I was outside with a flashlight trying to find a noise that I had heard. It was like a loud explosion. So I was out there pointing my flashlight around, trying to figure out what was going on. And I live about 2 football fields from my closest neighbor. The next door neighbor that's on the same side of the street as me, he also came out of his house. I didn't know who had come out of the house, but they had turned on their lights and they were looking around too. So they saw my flashlight and I immediately get a text saying, "Are you looking around with your flashlight?" "Yes, I heard a loud noise," I responded. They heard it too. Come to find out, it had something to do with his air compressor. This was like 1:30 in the morning, and my bedroom is furthest from their house. And there is a very dense tree line in between their house and mine. We can see the lights on at each other's houses, but we can't really see each other's houses very well. So that gives you an idea of how loud that noise was. Nobody hurt, everything's good. But the second you go outside at night because you hear something, this is what you're afraid you're going to see, or a living version of this. Either way, it's freaky. I'm glad that they were out there looking too. It made me feel safer. From episode 88. Normally I don't do still pictures because they're so easy to fake. And back in the early 1900s, that was a normal thing that they would do, is just fake paranormal pictures. I decided to go ahead and analyze pictures only because I wanted to point out to people, when it comes to cameras, it's all about light, shadow, and angle. It really doesn't matter if that camera is a video camera or a still life picture camera. It's all in the angles, the shadows, the lighting, so it can create optical illusions. And back in the days when they had negatives, it is very easy to alter a negative. So I'm always going to be skeptical about any image that I see that is a still photo, simply because lighting, shadows, and angles matter. I was given one of those, I don't even remember what it was called, but it was a longer rectangular camera, and it wasn't one of the panorama ones. It was pre-panorama cameras. And my left fingers kept blocking the view, and I didn't know. So just about every picture that I took in that roll of film, it was messed up because of my own fingers. So I'm always going to be just a little bit skeptical, or a lot skeptical, when it comes to still pictures. I botched too many of my own photos to trust, without any conditions, anybody else's photos too. From episode 89. We can see this odd looking critters on the ground here with red eyes, looks like frogs, look like they have antennas. Just absolutely creepy looking. I don't know if these things are real or not. Do you guys know if these things are real? Or are they just a CG thing? They're too bug-like for me to be able to research them, so that's why I don't know. I'm not necessarily anti-frog, but those antennas just make me think it's a bug, so that's why I don't want anything to do with these and research them. And this time of year, it is so noisy. and it will be noisy for like 2 months outside with all the frogs and the other critters croaking out there at night. Oh, it's just so noisy at night now. Episode 90. So as this man is looking at his phone in his hands, suddenly behind him, what looks like a little boy starts walking towards him. I'm always amazed at what gets passed off as paranormal. Here we go again with lights, shadow, camera angle, and we have a ghost child. Or we have a child returning to the path after going pee. Episode 91. We will suddenly see a transparent woman gliding across the walkway there. Not even a walkway, she's going through everything. And once again, we have the lady in white. This is the type of ghost that if I saw a ghost, I would want to see it, just because it looks peaceful and calm. It doesn't look mean. It doesn't look like it's going to attack me. This is the type of ghost that I would want to see. Obviously, I don't think this is real, but if it was real, this would be the ghost that I would want to see. Episode 92. It appears that we're in an abandoned building when suddenly a ball rolls across the floor. I have to say, this is one thing that I don't see that often, but I think I'm going to start looking for, is the balls that are rolling by themselves. I think I've analyzed 3 or 4 videos with the balls moving on by themselves, but I'll start looking for them and see if I can find more. Obviously, though, I'm always going to say it could be gravity, unlevel floor, things of that nature. It's so easy to move a ball. But maybe I'll find the ones that surprise me. Episode 93. As the camera moves around this building, it comes to this stockpile of sticks and poles. I don't know why this one creeped me out so much, but it did. It just is creepy to me. All of a sudden you turn a corner and a doll is staring at you. I'm working on these creepy videos and then I look outside and there's a deer staring at me. If you want to see the deer videos, you can go to Nature Security Camera. That's where I upload all the deer and wildlife videos. The one thing I can't figure out with this video is, did that doll move or is it still in the same space? I feel like they might have switched camera angles and that's why we got a different view, but still, it's just a creepy doll. Episode 94. As the camera peers through this window, we will suddenly see some items on that table move around, back and forth, back and forth. I still find this one interesting because they move back and forth and they're all in sync, and that's pretty difficult to pull off. But I feel like it's probably fake and it's very disappointing if it is. Just curious on this one, how do you think they did it if they did fake that? Let me know in the comment section below. From episode 95. We talked earlier about the night crawlers, but watch on this one how the legs are not moving independently. They're just sliding the legs forward. That's how we know this one is fake. Because you have 2 other examples, the Fresno and the Yosemite ones. Yeah, they don't move like this one. So that's how we know this one is fake. This is the Yosemite one, and see how the legs are moving independently and they're not doing that whole slide thing like that clip did. Yeah, so this is Yosemite's. And this is Fresno's. See, the legs are moving independently. It's not just being slid. Episode 96. For this clip, we are inside of a taxi cab using its interior camera, and it looks like there's no passengers whatsoever. But then the lights inside the cab starts changing, and it appears like there's somebody inside the back seat. I'm always fascinated by these, because I can see how they can very easily be passed off as paranormal, and I'm not convinced they are or are not, but again, it comes down to that camera angle, light, and shadow issue. But taxi drivers probably follow the same route, so this could have actually been done in two different nights. And one night there was a person there, and another night there wasn't, and they just fused those two uh, films together. Although I know a lot of people have this type of a ghost encounter where all of a sudden they'll look in the rearview mirror and there's a person there. Except it's not a person. And my question to everybody who tells that story, how do you not get in a car accident? Because at some point in time, survival instinct should kick in and you should be jumping out of your skin and needing to clean your undergarments. Episode 97. On the right side of our screen, we will suddenly see a shadowy figure pop out from behind a pillar. I am still chuckling over this one, simply because they have white shoes on. I don't know why, but that's like the comedic routine to me, the comedy act of, oh, I'm going to scare you, but I'm going to wear white shoes. It just cracks me up too much. I just can't take it seriously. Episode 98. As we watch, we see that this chair keeps rocking back and forth from 2 legs to 4 legs. I don't know why when I watch this clip, I just feel like there's a weird way that when he picks up the chair, it's almost like he's trying to unhook the leg of the chair from something right there. Isn't that a weird pose to you? I don't know. That angle just struck me as being in that position too long or long enough for a string to slide off. Now, I don't know that that's what's happening. This could be totally real. But right here, he's just holding it at such an odd angle for too long for me. And I hear myself saying that, and it sounds so nitpicky. But I just can imagine a string being attached, and he has to hold it in a certain angle until that string falls off. I don't know. Anyway, maybe I'm seeing things. From episode 99. As this child plays on the piano, behind her, a toy rolls by. Clips like this, I really struggle with because I could see how easily it can be faked, and yet I want it to be real. And yet I don't want it to be real because I don't want the child to be frightened. Do you have that same type of reaction to some of these clips? Before we get into episode 100, I want to take a minute to thank Jim Riley for producing the music for this channel. I reached out to Jim a few weeks ago and said, hey, here's some vocals that I've put down to try and come up with some type of opening for this video. So he came back with, instead of matching the music to that vocal, he said, let me just do a sing-song fun thing for you to do, and then you can add your voice back into it. I said okay, but what I didn't tell him is that I'm tone deaf, and I didn't know if I would be able to match my voice to music. So if the beginning of this video was off key or out of note, it's because I'm tone deaf, but I did ask him if it was alright, and he said it was fine. So I apologize for hurting your ears if I did with my vocalization. I know his music was perfect. Another note is that throughout this video, I knew that I was playing clips from the previous videos that would have Jim's music, so I used only like 20 seconds of one of his songs that was pretty stable, that wouldn't interfere with the original video's music. So I tried to do just kind of a plain sound that was a steady sound throughout this video. So I apologize to Jim for chopping up his song so much, but it just had this perfect part that just worked for this video. Let's finish this celebration with episode 100. We made it to episode 100! In the middle of this aisle, at the bottom center of the screen, we will suddenly see what appears to be a shadow person evolve and then walk towards the back of the theater and then disappear. I still have mixed feelings, and I'm wondering if it's a bug. It came up from the bottom onto the lens, but it just seems like it just manifests. Well, you're seeing it for a second time. Do you think it's a bug, or could it possibly be a manifestation of a ghost or a shadow person? Please let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this 100th episode revisit. Now, I also want to thank everybody for making these 100 videos possible. I will tell you that I'm no longer watching paranormal channels because I can't remember if I've watched it or analyzed it. So I have stopped watching paranormal channels. So if there's some videos out there from a specific channel that you want me to look at, please let me know in the comments, because if you don't tell me where they're at, it's going to take me longer to find them. But it was the only thing I could do, is I just couldn't remember. It's like, oh yeah, I like this video, but did I analyze it or did I watch it? And I can't remember, so I just stopped watching so that I could just do the analyst. So everything that I do, I'm pretty much watching it for the first time and just giving you my thoughts on what I was seeing, whether I thought it might be real or not. So I hope you like this just informal rambling on this video. I just thought it was the best way to celebrate these 100 videos. And thanks for watching Paranormal, True or False.